Hello, welcome. I'm super excited. It's Successful Sales Series time. Yes, that's an announcement saying there are people joining our webinar as we speak. So I'm going to give them just a couple of minutes before we start officially to give people an opportunity to fire up their computer, join us for our Successful Sales Series. I don't know about you, but I got really excited on the weekend because it was so warm and beautiful. And I sat out on my balcony in the sunshine and it was stunning. And I thought, yay, winter is dead. And then today it was sunny but cold. And I was a little bit disappointed. I don't know about you. So make sure that you grab a pen and paper. We're going to cover off some really great information for you this evening. And I'm a bit excited that we're already up to number 2 and making our way through the C.R.U.S.H model, which is what we're really doing here tonight. So we're going to get started. Welcome. It's so good to have you on our webinar. For those of you who are back for part 2, welcome back. If you saw part 1 of course was on certainty, the C in C.R.U.S.H, and now we are up to the R in C.R.U.S.H, and that stands for resilience. One of my most favorite topics, because I truly wholeheartedly believe that resilience is the cornerstone of being a successful salesperson. In fact, it's the cornerstone of being successful at anything, I think. And if you've got good, and I feel like you need good resilience in sales, because you know what, at the end of the day, it's reality. You're going to get potentially more no's than you're going to get yeses, and you're going to have that ability to bounce back and bring back that passion, bring back that hunger, bring back that hustling with your heart for your client. And in order to do that and keep getting up day after day after day is resilience. Resilience is definitely the antidote to all of that. So I'm super excited to share my tips and tricks on resilience. Wouldn't be worthwhile talking about anything if we didn't talk about why sales. I absolutely love and adore sales, and it wasn't always that case. And I know that there are a few of you on the webinar who think the same. It's a bit, I felt a bit icky about being a salesperson. In fact, I knew that I had a sales role, but I wasn't a salesperson. That's what I said to myself. I'm not a salesperson. I'm just here to help people. Well, what I came to realize was that sales is all about helping people. And if you really, really want to help people well, then you have to be good at sales. And that's different to being good at customer service. It's about making sure that you're really serving your client, because ultimately I believe sales is a noble profession. It is absolutely noble. It's a noble thing to do with your time to serve other humans, and you probably haven't heard the words sales and noble in the same sentence. But I absolutely believe that sales is noble. I think sales is human. It's absolutely human, and everyone sells. I have learned about sales that the fundamental things that go into being a really great salesperson equip you and strengthen you to have great relationships, not just with your clients, but with everybody. I believe sales teaches you to be a very effective human being, because humans are engaging with each other. Everyone sells. You might have a wife or a kid. You're selling to them anytime you want them to do something. You're trying to persuade them to do something. Absolutely, sales is fundamental. Now, it's even more than that. If you're in a business, and a lot of people who are in the Sydney Sales Meetup are in businesses for themselves, then you're going to have to sell, and not always going to be so comfortable. It's not always something that comes naturally to everyone. You're going to have to get good at it. Everyone sells, and if you want a successful business, then you're going to have to learn how to sell, but it's a lot easier than you think it is. So Sydney Sales Meetup started just over 12 months ago now. Oh, look, there it is. Founded July 14, 2016. And we have had so many amazing meetups, so many amazing, beautiful people. And the reason I started this group was because I wanted to hang out with a bunch of really cool salespeople. And I didn't know where they were because there are dodgy salespeople out there. There are great salespeople out there. And I just wanted to make sure that I could hang out with a bunch of really cool salespeople. And it's just grown and grown and grown and been really amazing. And we've had some wonderful times. So you're in the right place if you want to hang out with a bunch of people who are really client-centric, who are passionate about what they do, and who just really want to be excellent salespeople and really good salespeople. Sydney Sales Meetup, just so that you know our next events. Of course, we've got our whoopsies. Oh dear, there it goes. Then we're back. We've got part 3, 4, and 5 of the successful sales strategies, and we're moving through the C.R.U.S.H model. Our next live face-to-face is how to make a compelling offer, and that is at the WeWork building in Piedmont. I'm super excited. This is our new venue. There's free beer and cider. That had a lot to do in the decision I made to go to WeWork, but it's a really great facility. So if you're on the webinar tonight, I'd love to see you at the live event if you can make it, because I know we've got people from Auckland, we've got people from Perth, so that might be a bit of a stretch, but for those of you who are in Sydney, no excuses. It's a really great topic. We've got a half day in October as well. You can get more details through the meetup. I'll be sending out that as we go. A little bit about me. I am an expert sales mentor. I've got 10 plus years in sales training and mentoring, over 10,000 hours of sales mentoring and training, and I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs win over $16 million in revenue and counting, because, whenever you improve your sales ability, that compounds. I'm a leader of the coaching, not of the coaching. I am a leader at the Coaching Institute. I'm a founder of Sydney Sales Meetup, and I'm the creator of the Be More Awesome at Sales online course, and an all-around awesome human. Why am I awesome? Because I choose to be. I think sales has had a lot to do with that. Immersing myself in being an excellent salesperson has definitely contributed to being an awesome human. So you're in the right place. In my experience, successful sales really came down to 2 things, and this is out of my thousands of hours of sales coaching, is having a really great sales fit and a really great sales kit. So that says kit there, it should say fit. That's curiosity, resilience, unlimited beliefs, sureness, and hustle with heart. That is about making sure that you're really fit in your mindset. That's what that's about. So we're going to be talking about that. Specifically resilience this evening, and how we can make sure that we can get up day after day and be awesome salespeople. And the other thing is the sales kit, which is really the tools and techniques. So identifying problems, solving problems, and outlining the next steps. It's really quite simple. That's a 3-step sales system. You heard it here. Just keep it simple. There's no need to complicate it. And how I use, the framework I use to implement those 3 steps is eDisc, which we don't really go into in any detail tonight, but really for me, such a wonderful way to understand what motivates customers to buy, how to communicate to them in a language that they understand, which is pivotal to successful sales and elegant sales. So tonight is all about the Successful Sales series, part 2 of 5, and it's the R in C.R.U.S.H, which is resilience. Outcome, which is more money, more clients, and to be more awesome. How to suck the marrow out of tonight. Number 1 is ask for slides. My email address is down there at the bottom. Email me and ask for the slides. I'm happy to send them over to you. Implement something that you learn out of today. Implement it immediately. A very good way to learn is to teach someone else what you hear about tonight. Share it and take notes and get a little bit uncomfortable. If you're comfortable, then you're not learning. So make sure that you get a little uncomfortable. That's a really great place to be if you want to learn and be better at sales. this is my gift to you. It's valued at $97 plus GST. Free to you because I want to contribute to the business community and add value back. I've attended heaps of free trainings over the years, and I want to give back to the community. I want to also be able to demonstrate my skills, knowledge, and ability. I want to help you decide if you want to continue to engage, come to meetups, and so on, and also to just build a movement of awesome salespeople. That was my vision for the Sydney Sales Meetup, was to hang out with a group of amazing salespeople. So that's what this is about. If you get value, take action, put one idea into action, tell people in Facebook land, join the Sydney Sales community, share your learnings, come to more Sydney Sales Meetup events, or hire me. We're talking about sales kit tonight in a little bit more detail, the crush model specifically. Specifically, we're going to be talking about resilience. That's what we're talking about, resilience. All right, so what is resilience? It's a lot of things. Essentially, I believe it comes down to having the ability to persevere in the face of adversity. It's bigger than perseverance. It's persevering in the face of adversity. Perseverance is one thing you need, absolutely. And to continue to persevere in the face of adversity is what resilience is really all about. As salespeople, I believe we face a lot of adversity. There's, look, let's just name the puppy. One of the things that comes up a lot for me in our sales coaching is the R word, the other R word, rejection. Yeah, you're going to get some no's. You're going to have amazing conversations with people. You're going to have amazing relationships with people, and they're not going to buy from you. Now, you've got a choice. You can take that personally, or you can, just keep moving. Either way, that can be tricky. It's not nice. And I certainly remember in my early sales days, the fear of rejection really inhibited my ability to succeed. I think that's in the face of adversity, persevering anyway. The feeling around that was, for me, it was a hurdle that I had to overcome, and I had to keep persevering and build a muscle around that, which I did. But there are other things as well that are outside of our control, the market. There's all sorts of things. There's always going to be adversity, but the key important thing here is that we continue to persevere. And one of the things that helps you do that is to know that adversity is temporary. Yes, there's adversity, but there's also amazing times, good times. There's going to be times where you win and win big as well. Now, there's a bit of a debate about whether you're born with resilience or not. Fundamentally, I'm with the camp that you are not born with resilience. You may be born with some of the traits that resilience needs. You might be born with some of them. You won't be born with all of them. But I fundamentally don't believe that you're born with resilience, and here's why. Resilience is built up over time. The ability to persevere in the face of adversity is not something you're born with. It is something you develop over time, and the only way you can develop and build this muscle is by facing adversity and overcoming it, something you're not born with. So that is my belief around resilience and whether you're born with it. So when you look at other people, you think, wow, they just keep getting up and they keep going. Nothing seems to faze them. They're just lucky. They're born with it. That's a big fat lie. Don't even go there with that for yourself. You absolutely can build a resilience muscle just like anyone else. They built it. And I'm going to talk about some of the characteristics. A few of them you might be born with, but every one of them you can develop. So resilience is something everyone can have. It is a muscle that needs to be developed over time. Being able to face adversity builds a muscle. The harder the adversity, the bigger the muscle. I absolutely love this saying. It made me really, my guts kind of clench up a little bit, and I felt really confronted when I read this, and I wanted to share it with you. I was so keen to share it with you. You do not rise above it. You sink to the level of your training. Now, when I first read that, I have to say, I felt really bad. Like I thought, yes, this is what I do. I rise above the occasion. I'm amazing. And to have that kind of confrontation that actually I'm going to sink to the level of my training really gave me a wake-up call as to how important it was to keep sharpening my tools. And when I thought about it, I realized how true this statement is. And this statement was made by a US Marine Corps who now does motivational speaking. I forget his name, David something, I found out the other day. But I just read this randomly somewhere. It wasn't attributed to him. And I thought, wow, I really wanted to share that with you. It isn't about rising above it. It's not. It's about sinking to the level of your training. And it reinforces the point that you're not born with resilience. You train yourself to be resilient. So if you consistently choose to not push yourself through adversity, to not build that muscle, to not get uncomfortable, to not do the things that are needed, which I'm going to share with you to build a resilience muscle, then you're going to sink to the level of your training in resilience. And if you don't train yourself, then you're going to sink, and you're going to sink hard. And it's a bit of a harsh statement. I appreciate that. And I absolutely stand behind it as a true representation of building resilience. It is a training exercise. It's not something that comes naturally. So start training so that you can sink to the level of your training and make that sink be really high and not really low. That's the moral of the story. Okay, so some ingredients around what is resilience. Let's talk about these. Number one is a sense of optimism. Are you a glass half full or glass half empty kind of person? If you're a glass half empty kind of person, resilience is going to be harder for you to push through. That's as easy as I can put it. And that's harsh, but it's true. Optimism is essential for resilience. Now, optimism can be learned, and it's totally about what you choose to focus on. So when you are faced with a situation, any situation, I want you to bring some awareness to what you're focusing on. Are you focused on what isn't happening, what can't happen, what somebody else is doing better? Have a think about that. If those are the things that you're focused on, you're probably more likely to be a glass half empty type of person. And if that's the way that you think, the beauty of that is that you can shift that and become more optimistic. And the easiest way to do that is to shift what you focus on. So rather than focusing on what isn't happening, start to notice what is. And we're going to delve into this in another webinar, I think, because this is a big topic. I'm hearing probably some people out there saying, well, isn't that just, ignoring the truth or having rose-colored glasses? Well, be that as it may, I'm not going to go into that debate, because whether it is or whether it isn't, it doesn't matter. The purpose here tonight is to talk about how to become resilient. And one of the tools that you have is to be optimistic, and you can learn that. The other ingredient for this is emotional intelligence. Now, that's EI, emotional intelligence. There's lots of really, really smart people out there, and they are emotionally not intelligent. So what is emotional intelligence? It is the ability to be aware and mature in your emotions. So do you fly off the handle really easy? Do you cry a lot? Do you get really highly emotional? Do you, respond to sad or bad in situations and get highly emotional? Well, that's a sign that you can work on your emotional intelligence. So it's about becoming very aware of your emotions, being in the moment with your emotions, and learning how to, at times, appropriately edit your emotions as well. Again, another huge topic. We could just go down so many rabbit holes, but I'm going to keep moving because we've got lots of value to add. The ability to brace uncertainty. This is something most humans are not born with. Emotional intelligence. Humans are not born with this. They're not. They're born with an an element of emotional awareness, but intelligence comes from study. It comes from learning, just like intellectual intelligence does. Embracing uncertainty. Humans are naturally seeking certainty. So they're born seeking certainty, safety, security. These are things that we're born with. So if in essence, we're all on a level playing field here, that if you're someone who loves to embrace uncertainty, it's because you've developed and coveted that aspect of yourself and developed that resilience muscle over time. It's part of the resilience pie that we're making here, is the ability to embrace uncertainty. So what does that mean? It means being okay with the unknown, with not knowing what's going to happen next, but being okay with that and being able just to kind of push through. To be flexible. Again, this is another rabbit hole we could go down. In so many avenues in sales, you need to be flexible. On the one hand, when you go into a sales meeting, I'm going to just go with as simple as I can put it. Every salesperson has the same outcome in mind. They want to make a sale. At the same time, you need to be flexible enough to know that you might need to adapt and change what that sales conversation might look like. You don't know where your clients are going to go sometimes. So you need to be able to be flexible. You need to be able to move with the times. That helps you move through adversity. To be playful. Now, this is another topic we could go down a rabbit hole with, but to be able to be lighthearted and not take things so seriously helps you move through adversity. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're taking the piss out inappropriately. It just means that you're able to have a healthy sense of playfulness to some situations that are, adverse. That there's a spirit of learning. I love challenges. You know what? It took me a little bit, I learned this from Robert Kiyosaki actually years ago, is that mistakes, we spend so much of our time trying to avoid making mistakes when the gold is in the mistakes you make. When you're trying not to make mistakes, you're staying safe, you're being certain, you're not actually trying anything different or stepping out there, which means you may not achieve much, or you probably won't achieve much. But if you look at mistakes as an opportunity to learn and to grow and to be better, then all of a sudden moving through adversity becomes a lot easier. You've focused less on worrying about making mistakes and more on appreciating what you're going to learn. Much better space to be able to move through adversity. Another ingredient is a solution focus as opposed to a problem focus. Can you imagine this scenario? We've got an adversity situation. It's an adverse situation, and here we are. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the problem. We're going to analyze the problem. We're going to discuss and pontificate about the problem. And we're just going to keep doing that. And that's what we're going to focus on because the problem is there and we need to talk about it. You can imagine if we continue to do that, we're not actually going to move through adversity. We're just going to keep looking at adversity and having an intellectual conversation about the adversity in front of us. We're not actually going to move through it. On the other side of adversity is a solution. By focusing on solutions as opposed to problems, what that does is it allows you to see the way through. And that helps us be resilient. You're not born with the ability, well, to some extent, you're kind of born with a problem-solving, you know what, I'm going to rephrase that. You're right. You're all born with the ability to solve problems. That's a human thing. Everybody is born with that ability. Everybody is born with the ability to learn. Otherwise, you wouldn't know how to walk and talk. Flexibility, playfulness, potentially those are things that you could learn. And strength. I believe strength comes slowly through building resilience. Not everybody is strong. Strength is something that is built up over time. But it's still a key ingredient to resilience, is to be able to be strong. And I believe strength has two aspects to it. Number one is that you have the ability to be strong for others, that you can actually help people move through adversity, and that you have the strength to, for a certain extent, carry other people through adversity. And strength comes from being able to reach out and seek help when you need it as well. You can pull people through adversity, but other people can help you as well. And strength comes from the dynamic of both of those things, being able to reach out for help and to help others as well. That requires strength of character. So those things are really the ingredients to resilience. And arguably a couple of them, you could say some people might be born, but more often out of this list of things, these are things that, you can develop as well. All right. How do we develop it? This is the goal. I'm going to present you here with a model. It's called the levels of thinking. And this is where resilience is built. There are two things in life. Either they're good for you, good for others, and good for the greater good, or they're not good for you, not good for others, or the greater good. One of two things. Now, I want you to think about this. What feels good, good for you, good for others, and is good for the greater good? In a sales perspective, it might be, delivering somebody's keys to them because they just bought a house. That feels good. It's good for you. It's good for others. It's good for the greater good. This is where, maybe something like receiving that commission check that you got at the end of the month feels good. It's good for you. It's good for others. It's good for the greater good. Sending clients Christmas cards or Christmas hampers, God, that's only around the corner. Good grief. That feels good. It's good for you. It's good for others, and it's good for the greater good. Resilience is not built here. It doesn't require resilience to feel good. Resilience doesn't feel good. Are you hearing me here? That doesn't require any resilience. But I kind of feel like this is where we like to hang out. As a salesperson, you know what I used to do? To feel good, but to feel like I was actually doing something, I used to write a lot of lists. That was something that I did to feel good. It was good for me. It was good for others. It was good for the greater good. But ultimately, it wasn't a great place to hang out for too long because nothing actually happened. So you don't want to hang out here too long. This is like a brief moment. This is the feeling good moment is awesome. And the best place that you can hang out to build resilience is in what doesn't feel good, but is good for you, good for others, and good for the greater good. And I'm going to delve into this a little bit because it's worthwhile hanging out here. Building resilience doesn't feel good. Success, the process, doesn't always feel good. Getting uncomfortable doesn't feel good. But these are the ingredients that build success and build resilience. So what are some examples of what doesn't feel good is good for you, good for others, and good for the greater good in sales? One of the things for me when I was a salesperson was doing my follow-ups. I didn't feel good about it. It felt very uncomfortable, very unfamiliar. I was very nervous about calling people in case they hang up or, tell me to go away or whatever. I was really quite fearful about doing my follow-ups, and it didn't feel good. It is good for me to follow up. I need to know whether or not people are interested. It is good for me to keep going back to leads that haven't closed on the first or second time. It is good for others because my client, they probably need some help making their decision and they're busy and they don't have time to call me. So I'm doing them a favor by calling them to say, hey, what's the next step? Or here's some additional value in your decision-making process. So it's good for the greater good in that respect. It's good for all, but it doesn't feel good that moment before you pick up the phone. I think we could think of dozens of things. Just a sales meeting, period. When you're new and learning, or when you've got a client you're a little bit nervous about, doesn't feel good. It feels uncomfortable. You get nervous. You get uncertain. It doesn't feel good, but it is good for you. It is good for others, and it's good for the greater good. So you need to keep doing that. This is where the resilience muscle is built. I'm just going to say that loud. That's it. It doesn't feel good to build resilience. The results feel good at the end. It feels great. And it gets easier and easier as you build that muscle. It starts to become a lot easier, but it doesn't feel good at the beginning when you're learning something new. Once you've learnt it, it then feels good, and it's good for you, and it's good for others, and it's good for the greater good. So we want to be hanging out on the right-hand side of this equation. Primarily, we want to be hanging out, if we're building resilience, we want to be hanging out in what doesn't feel good, is good for us, is good for others, and is good for the greater good. I'm going to briefly touch on what's the other side. The other side. Not good for you, not good for others, not good for the greater good. All right, let's have a little bit of a chat. This is where Shonky Sales goes to hang out. All right, let's start with what feels good, isn't good for you, isn't good for others, or isn't good for the greater good. You know, for some people, selling something or forcing someone into a sale or duping someone into a sale feels good. That's for some people. It feels good. It isn't ultimately good for you to dupe people into a sale because they won't come back. They're going to tell other people. It's not sustainable. This is the wrong side of the track, so to speak. It isn't good for the other person. You duped them. You tricked them into doing something. They're going to feel really stupid. They're going to have lost their money. And so it's not good for the greater good. Even though for some people it might feel good, it's not sustainable. And then, of course, what doesn't feel good isn't good for you, isn't good for others, or isn't good for the greater good. And look, you know, sometimes I haven't done this myself, but I know of other salespeople who have, you know, signed up to sell something that they don't feel good about, and they icky about the product, and they don't feel good about it, and it doesn't last. It's not sustainable. So left-hand side is not sustainable. Not good for you, not good for others, not good for the greater good. It isn't sustainable. The right-hand side, good for you, good for others, and good for the greater good, that's sustainable. Whether it feels good or whether it doesn't feel good, it's sustainable. If it doesn't feel good, we can keep doing it, and eventually it will feel good. And then we find the next thing that doesn't feel good that will feel good. Are you hearing the sustainable nature of this? So we just keep going, and we just keep building our resilience muscle. And it isn't always easy because it is uncomfortable. But that's the best place to hang out, is about expanding your comfort zone. The moral of the story here is that this is a process. Resilience is built over time. So the sad news is for you, you've got all the tips and tricks at this point to be able to build a really strong resilience muscle. It's going to take time. And it's going to take getting uncomfortable. That's the bad news. But the good news is that it's sustainable and that it gets easier over time as well. Okay, so your next steps. Out of that, we just shared some amazing resilience goals. In your 60-day plans, put one idea into action. So one thing from tonight, what is that going to be? I would love you to reflect on what are some of the things that you could do to get you a little bit uncomfortable, to start building that resilience muscle. It doesn't have to be a big thing. I'm not suggesting that you go out tomorrow and throw yourself out of an airplane, with a chute, right? But I'm not suggesting you have to go do that. But that is one way to build resilience, is putting yourself into situations where there's uncertainty, where you need to be flexible, where you don't know what's going to happen next and it's a little bit scary. One of the things that I used to do is I tell a story in my training. It's a bit funnier when you can see my body move. How I heard Tony Robbins once say to get uncomfortable and to stretch your boundaries of your comfort zone was to get into a lift and face everybody. And I'll never forget the first time I tried to do that. I psyched myself up. I was sweating. I was nervous. My heart was pounding, and I was waiting for the lift, and I could see it coming down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to the ground floor, and the doors opened, and it was full of people, and I got in, and I was like, oh my God. And then I just turned around again, and I didn't face anybody. that was my first attempt at facing everybody, was to fail. And maybe I'd bitten off a little bit too much that I could chew, you know, but it was a really great way to push myself. And now I walk into a lift, I start chatting to people, you know, and I never get nervous anymore. So that's just one little simple thing that you can do to just, you know, stretch yourself a little bit. Another one of my clients, I suggested she take herself to dinner on her own because she didn't feel comfortable being on her own at dinner. She felt exposed. And what she learned was that people weren't actually paying as much attention to her as she thought they were. And she had a really lovely meal, and it, you know, it just one more notch in her belt, in her resilience process to build that muscle. Success comes from incredible implementation, and it's easy to implement resilience. It's easy to implement it in all sorts of different scenarios. So pick some quick wins and get some quick wins today. Think of something that would put you outside your comfort zone. I've given you a couple of suggestions, but think of something that scares you and then do it. And I'm here to help you. So reach out if you need some more suggestions, or you know, you need a little bit of a nudge or here or there, reach out. I'm here to help you. All right, next steps. Please come to our next meetups. We've got so many. This month, we've got this next 2 weeks is the Successful Sales Strategies Series Part 3 and 4. Please join us for that webinar. We're continuing on really important aspects of sales fit, which is your beliefs, unlimited beliefs, and assuredness, being certain, so fundamental to being really great at sales. On the 11th of October, oh, that's another sales series as well. On the 18th of September, we've got how to make a compelling offer at WeWork, and the half-day workshop on the 7th of October as well. So up the top, that's our webinar series. Down the bottom, that's our live events. Please come. I'd love to see you there. And then everybody on the webinar, I'm offering to you a 45-minute discovery session with me over phone or Skype. And that's so that we can review sales plan, health check your sales strategy. The session's valued for $300, but it's offered free to you. So everyone, take in that offer and book in now. Just shoot me an email. And if you qualify, if you book in for a discovery session and you qualify, you are going to get access to my Be More Awesome Sales Mastery Program, unlimited access, but only for qualified people who book in. And that's valued at $97 per month. And that is for life, my friends, for life. It's got powerful sales content, the latest learning methodologies. You get direct access to me to ask questions and get advice. And it's an online course mentoring program, help you make more money, win more clients, and be more awesome. It's available 24/7 on desktop, tablet, and mobile. And you get regular updates, and it's fully downloadable as well. And of course, the other aspect, which we didn't touch on tonight, but we spend so much time on this on other webinars and meetups, is the eDisc Sales Diagnostic. Essentially, if you want to understand how people buy, what motivates them, how you roll as a salesperson, and the best and most efficient way to get yourself really productive is to do one of these reports, and that's valued at $550. And you can work with me too in conjunction with the sales diagnostic. I have a program of mentoring from 3 to 9 hours from $750. If you have any questions about tonight's content, please reach out, please get in touch. Call me, email me, get in touch with me through the Sydney Sales Meetup. I love this topic, and I'd love to have some discussions with you. If you have some ideas or you need some help to build that resilience muscle, make sure you reach out. And that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for your amazing attendance, you awesome people, and I will see you on the next webinar. Thank you. Now let me have a look. I'm going to actually, we've got a few minutes actually, I think. Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. If you want to, I've got the group chat here. If you want to ask a question, we've got a couple of more minutes. Actually, we finished a little bit early. If you'd like to ask a question, you're welcome to, or shoot me an email. Oh, Suzanne, you are welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Hafiz. I noticed you joined recently to the meetup, so welcome. Thank you. Oh yes, absolutely, Peter. Sorry, there is absolutely a recording. I'm going to upload it on YouTube and email it out through the meetup. So watch out for that. Well, presuming everything goes well, it'll be tonight, or if not tomorrow, with YouTube. It will just depend how long it takes to load up. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, we'll call it a night, folks. Have an amazing evening. Thank you so much, and reach out if you need anything, have any questions. Take it easy.